February 25th was Madeline Soto's 13th birthday party. A big day in any child's life, celebrating the end of one phase and the start of the next, the teen years. But tragically for Madeline, this was not the beginning of her teen years. It was the end of her life. She was reported missing the next day, but investigators believe she was already dead by 8:19 the following morning. So the question is, what happened between the time of her birthday party and 8:19 the following morning? Where was Madeline and who was she with? When did she speak to her mother? Where was mom's boyfriend, Stephan Stearns, and what was caught on video? Madeline's mother has spoken publicly, as has Stephan Stearns. Do their accounts of what happened after the party match the evidence in the case? Tonight, we are live from Madeline's neighborhood, identifying the surveillance cameras, locating the dumpster, and putting together the pieces of what happened as we continue our investigation into the tragic life and death of Madeline Soto.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight. A big hour tonight. I think we're going to raise some questions and try to answer some questions about what happened to Madeline Soto. And we begin with the story, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It really doesn't, right? And it's the way that we are receiving the information in this case. We get a few pieces from law enforcement, get a couple other nuggets from law enforcement. We know that her mother spoke when it was a missing persons case. We know that Stephan Stearns, the main suspect in her murder and the defendant in a series of charges involving a sexual assault of a minor under the age of 12. So we get different pieces from different perspectives, and when you try to mush them all together, it doesn't make sense, and there's some questions that are arising as a result, and that's part of what we want to do this hour. We've got our folks on the ground down in Central Florida and try to use some of the information that we're gathering to add to this. What makes sense? What question needs to be answered? And do all the stories that we've heard match up with the physical evidence? But right now, stories not making sense to me. Maddie, Stephan, and Jen, this so-called family unit, the relationships, I think, the way they've been described, kind of vague. It's kind of vague, right? Were they married? Were they living as a married couple? Did they think that they were common law, you know, husband and wife? Was he a stepfather? Was he not a stepfather? Was he playing that role? Were they all living in the same house all this time? I mean, we don't know for sure, but we've got little pieces, again, that we're going to try to put together to clarify the vagueness of these relationships. And then you're talking about the timeline of what happened here. And I always come back to the timeline, because when I was a prosecutor, making arguments to the jury, trying to put a case together, the timeline was important. Now, as someone who reports on stories on television and trying to explain to viewers what happened, timelines are another resource that we rely on a lot, you know, on Court TV and especially here on Closing Arguments. And if you come to our editorial meetings, a lot of times, like, well, can we put a timeline together? What does the timeline say? And you try to figure it out. But here, we've got some definite times that have been set out by law enforcement, but then you try to fill in the gaps and figure out what happened. So from my perspective, tonight, what we want to focus on really is what happens up until 8:19, because that's a definitive point in the timeline where investigators say they have video of Stephan returning to the home, to the community, and Madeline appears to not be alive in the car. She's dead already, 8:19 a.m. So that's sort of the end point of where I want to go tonight. Where's the beginning? Well, it all starts here at the birthday party, right? Because we know she's alive. We've got proof of life right here. You can see it. You can see. So trying to understand what happened, and the timeline from the birthday party to 8/19, that's a lot of what the trial's going to be about. Because if you're going to charge someone with her murder, that's when it happened. That's the time frame we're talking about, from the birthday party to 8/19 the following morning. So let's start with the birthday party. Jen Soto, Madeline's mother, spoke to WFTV and told us about that party.
She had a birthday party on Sunday. She had a great time. I couldn't make it because I was working, but she had an amazing time. She was so happy with all her gifts. I told her good night, and yeah, that was it.
Okay, this is the last picture that we know of Madeline Soto. It was taken on Sunday, February 25th at that 13th birthday party, the day before she was reported missing. But one big question about this photo remains unanswered. Where was it taken? Where was this photo taken? Where was Madeline's 13th birthday party? Well, tonight we're getting a little closer to answering that question because of more photos of Madeline, which appear to be from the same day, circulating, of course, on TikTok. Take a look in these pictures posted by a TikTok user. You can see Madeline, she's wearing that same blue dress. There it is, the birthday dress. And she's holding some of those blue streamers that you sort of saw, like the ones hanging in the background of that birthday party photo, right? If these photos were taken outside the party, they could be a clue to where Madeline was just hours before her death. And look, folks, pay attention. The type of homes, what you're seeing in these photos. I saw a little retention pond. Looks like a nice neighborhood. Looks very familiar to me. It looks like the neighborhood I lived in down in Orlando around the turn of the century. But that's the way a lot of the neighborhoods look in Central Florida. Let's get more information. Let's figure out if these photos look anything like the neighborhood where Madeline lived, where her house was. Well, Court TV producer Cody Thomas is joining us live from outside the Venetian Bay Villages complex where Madeline Soto lived. Great to see you tonight, Cody. I see the sun is setting in Central Florida. So you're at the neighborhood. Let's try to put some of this together. You saw the complex today, the way the houses were set up. What's your analysis of what's behind you, the neighborhood, what you saw today, and those photos circulating on TikTok of Madeline outside on her birthday?
Well, good evening, Vinny. Of course, I am standing outside that back gate of these Venetian Bay homes here in Orlando. And Vinny, I don't think those photos were taken here, and I'll tell you why. There's two reasons. To your point, the style of home that are seen in those photos, those are single homes as if they're sitting on their own plot of land, a typical subdivision type home. The homes here at Venetian Bay are more condo apartment-like. They're multiple units in one building, so those don't correlate to me. And also, if you look at the pictures, if you look at the pictures of Madeline as well, she is in a big yard. The homes here, the yard's a little small, the driveways are shorter. Again, your typical condominium apartment type home. That's why I don't think these pictures were taken here.
And that's significant. That is significant, right? Trying to piece together a timeline. It starts with the birthday party. So where is she for this birthday party? We're looking at some of the video from today driving past the Venetian Bay Villages. And you're right, I'm looking here. This is not single family homes. These look like townhouse condo units. Families living next to each other. They're nice units, but they're not single family homes with backyards and retention ponds and side yards and front yards like we saw in the photos there. I want to put this on the screen from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. This is from their press conference. And they say that we have video evidence that shows Stephan Stearns discarding items in a dumpster in that apartment complex in Kissimmee at 7:35 on Monday, February 26. Detectives later recovered Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop from that dumpster. So this is another big part of that timeline. 7:35 in the morning, video, Stephan Stearns near a dumpster in the neighborhood. Were you able to locate a dumpster in the neighborhood behind you?
Yes, Vinny, I was. And to your point, this might be one of the most critical factors of this entire case. Now, I did find that dumpster right next to the tennis courts in this subdivision. And of course, it was a private residence, so I had to get video from the outside. But it's also near the back gate where I'm standing right now. But one of the most important things about that dumpster, there are cameras overlooking. It seems as if they're looking right inside of it. It's standing right there, the light post with two cameras sitting on it. So to put it frank, any person, any animal, any vehicle that comes in or around that dumpster, it's going to get picked up by either one of those cameras. So we know deputies did say that they have video evidence of him dumping those items. So I believe these are the cameras that did catch him because, again, they are right there on it.
And we saw that video as you were speaking. It's unbelievable. I've never seen a camera at a dumpster like that. I mean, it's like, you see the pole there, folks, that's it. Just to the right of the dumpster, you got the tennis courts in the background, but boom, there it is. So if someone's gonna drop something in a dumpster, they're gonna get caught on video. Like,
they're definitely going to be caught on video. And one thing to note, Vinny, don't mean to cut you off, but one thing about this entire complex, there seems to be cameras at every which angle you can imagine. I mean, at the front gate, at the back gate, at the dumpster. And from what I can see from the outside, they're all in other different corners where cars turn around in there. Cameras galore across the entire complex.
That's the world we live in, right? We live in this world of security, and I think in this complex, you probably have folks who rent out units as well. They want to keep it secure, so you're gated. I want to put this on the screen now because I think this is significant as well from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. They say at 8:19 a.m., we have evidence that shows Stephan Stearns returning to the complex and Madeline was visible in that vehicle. We believe she was already dead at that time. So the allegation here by investigators that he's driving in his car with a dead child. So what did you find at the front entrance, the back entrance? How would you describe them? How similar, different are they? And what did you see in terms of cameras there?
So, two entrances, you know, like you said, front and back, both at least 2 to 3 cameras catching every car that goes in, every car that exits the complex. Now, one thing to note, the difference between each gate, the front gate has a human person out there out front, a security guard, and a little hut, little shack, you know, checking any car that comes in and out. We've witnessed it today. They come out any car, I guess, checking to see identification, maybe a parking tag to just make sure they live here. Now, the back gate, there's not a person out there at any given time. You know, we saw one guard. He sits out here for a little bit. He has to make his patrols around the complex. But there is window of opportunity to come in where nobody can see you. Maybe the cameras will catch you, but not a person will check. So on that, in that same sentiment, like the deputies say, if he was coming through, they have video of him with Madeline in the back of the car, presumably dead. I don't imagine someone would go through the front gate where somebody could possibly see this dead body in the back seat. So from what I could see, like I said, cameras everywhere. I think that back gate is probably where he came back that morning, according to police.
And again, we're looking at some of this video that you recorded today at the complex. When we went to that back gate, it seemed the camera is in the middle, right? So if you're going to pick up images of people inside the car, obviously the driver will be the closest to the camera. It's that pole in the middle right there. But from where it is, from that angle, it seems like you'll be able to look in that front windshield pretty easily and see if she's in the, potentially the front seat. Yeah, and if it's the back seat, you'll see it as it passes. And are those 3 cameras there on that pole?
Yeah, you see that correctly. There are 3 cameras. Seems like one's pointing to cars that exit, one's pointing to cars that come in, and the third one, I guess, just generally pointing around the complex, back towards it, towards the outside, catching any, like I said,
wow,
cameras every which way that I could see. And I'm just on the outside. Like I said, this is a private complex, so I couldn't gain full access. But you would get caught coming in here, especially if you're doing something wrong.
And with the 3 cameras, right, so you can get through the front windshield, then as you're driving by, you got the side cameras, so then you can look in the side in case something's in the back seat as well. And you'll get a good look at the driver. You'll get a good profile shot of the driver. You'll get the front on. This is crucial, and this is the back entrance. And when we looked at the map, this is fascinating because you look at the map of where the house is and where the back entrance is. They're much closer. Like the dumpster, the back entrance, and the home, you would go from one to the next to the next. The front entrance is actually further away. And, you know, in addition to being manned, right, with security personnel inside the booth there at the front entrance, you go out the back, you're going past the dumpster, and you're going out the back way. But you're still going to get picked up on camera at the dumpster and at the gate. That's amazing. So anything else from this subdivision that you noticed today that you thought was significant, important, and how busy of a complex is it?
Well, that was what I was going to get to. Just like you just pointed out, you probably can see some cars coming in and out right here behind me. Throughout the entire day, we've been out here hours on end, you know, midday, lunchtime, 5 o'clock in the afternoon when kids are getting out of school. Cars are coming in and out of these gates multiple times a day, very frequent. It's not slow, it's not even moderate. Cars are coming in as I'm standing here outside of this back gate, coming in and out. So very busy, cameras everywhere, lots of people getting picked up, I would imagine. So very busy complex.
All right, and again, we see the gates going up and down as people are leaving. It's gated, it's private to get in. You have to be a resident to get through that back gate. A guest couldn't even go there, but Stephan Stearns, we believe, was potentially living there. At least that's what it says on the police affidavits. So he would have access to a clicker or some way to get in and out. I think that clears up a few things tonight. It clears up a few things.
And one thing I will note, Vinny, that you just mentioned, you can't really walk into these gates, you know, without that clicker. I didn't see any sort of door. You know, some complexes have, you know, you can press a button, you can walk in if you're on foot, your friends are coming. This is not a walk-in area straight from the sidewalk. This is, from what I've seen, strictly car only. So that could play a part in this case as well.
Absolutely. All right, Cody Thomas on the ground. Great work. I know we've got more to cover tomorrow night as we're going to take a look at his story, right? The route that he took, or he says he took when he dropped Madeline off at school. So we'll be looking forward to that tomorrow night. Cody Thomas reporting tonight from Kissimmee, Florida. Thank you, sir. Great to see you. Okay, when we come back, we're going to try to answer some questions here, some more questions about where was everyone? Who lived in the house? Who was at the birthday party? Where did Madeline sleep that night? There's a lot of different statements and facts. Try to put them all together. We're going to bring in Shannon Butler, a great investigative reporter from down in Central Florida, and Gray Hughes, podcaster who's been all over this story. But first, coming up next hour.
In Norfolk County, Massachusetts, former professor Karen Reed went out drinking with her police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe. He ended up dead on his friend's lawn the next day in a blizzard. Prosecutors say Karen Reed purposely struck him with her car and left him to die. But Karen Reed says she was framed and set up by police. Now, the feds are investigating the investigators.
And this means he has a personal interest in getting Karen Reed convicted. If he can use whatever means he has at his disposal to convict her, and he succeeds, that would vindicate him and harm the federal investigation of his office.
We're moving closer to the trial in the case against Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty.
It's the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial. A drug ring, a double murder, and deadly secrets in a small town.
Prosecutors allege Timothy Verrill killed 2 women because he believed they were working as police informants.
The Small Town Secrets murder trial, weekday mornings on Court TV.
Our detectives have determined that Madeline was never dropped off on the morning of February 26th near her school. Instead, we believe she was already dead at the time and that Stephan Stearns moved her body in the early morning hours on that day. We have video evidence that shows Stephan Stearns discarding items in a dumpster in that apartment complex in Kissimmee at 7:35 on Monday, February 26th. Detectives later recovered Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop from that dumpster. At 8:19, we have evidence that shows Stephan Stearns returning to the complex and Madeline was visible in that vehicle. We believe she was already dead at that time.
2 big pieces of what we know in terms of this timeline. 7:35, Stephan Stearns at that dumpster that we showed you. 8:19, returning to the complex, caught on video, Madeline appears dead. Now, let's back it up to that birthday party the day before. What's happening in between in this timeline? I want you to take a listen to Jen Soto, Madeline's mom, speaking to WFTV, talking about her last conversation with Madeline.
What was the last thing, I guess, the conversation that you two had, you and your daughter?
We spoke about her birthday party. She had a birthday party on Sunday. She had a great time. I couldn't make it because I was working, but she had an amazing time. She was so happy with all her gifts. I told her good night, and yeah, that was it.
I talked to her. I told her good night. Was that on the phone? Was that in person? A little vague. Take a look at the screen right now. On February 26th, this is from the affidavit. 2024, 2,000 hours. A 13-year-old victim was reported missing by her mother. The mother advised her daughter's stepfather, Stephan Stearns, picked her up from home and dropped her off at Hunters Creek Middle School. We know the second part, not true, but what about the first part? Picked her up from home, so was Madeline at home? Where was Stephan Stearns? More questions tonight. Let's try to find some answers. Joining us tonight in Orlando, Florida, WFTV investigative reporter Shannon Butler, and in Portland, Oregon, podcaster Gray Hughes, who you can watch on YouTube at Gray Hughes Investigates. Thank you both for coming back. Shannon, can you fill in any more of this very vague, sparse timeline?
I can a little bit. I went through the documents again today because we, routinely check the court files just to see if anything in there. So I went back through all of the documents, and what I read in there is, so take a look at 7:35, right? That's where investigators say he was seen dumping Madeline Soto's backpack, laptop in that dumpster. At 8:19, they said they see him in the complex driving back into that complex. What it says in those documents at 8:10 that morning, in between those 2 times, that his car, a license plate reader, picked up his car near Madeline Soto's school. So that license plate reader suggests that his car was near the school 9 minutes before they see him drive back into that apartment complex there. That's when they say they could see that Madeline Soto was in his vehicle and she was already deceased. So that is at 8:10. What my understanding is from investigators is that he said he had to go back to that apartment complex because he forgot that clicker to the gate that you see there, opening and closing, that he had to go back and get that clicker. Now, there's a lot of stories here that we're not sure are correct because the timeline is a little bit off from what he told us, what he told investigators, what she told us, what she told investigators. We're still piecing that together, but the video evidence here has really helped us, at least in those early morning hours. There's still some question about what happened before 7:35, but at least in that time frame we're starting to piece together a little bit. It wouldn't be unusual that it would take 9 minutes from the school to get back to that apartment complex. But remember, investigators believe that Madeline Soto was already dead at 7:35 when her stuff was being thrown in that dumpster. The problem is, Vinny, because I heard you guys talking about those cameras. You see where those cameras are, right into the dumpster. If the car was parked near that dumpster, it wasn't as good of a view as they had at 8:19. That's why they were careful. That's why the sheriff there couldn't say definitively that she was dead at 7:35. They believe that she was because they can see her a little bit at 7:35 in the front seat of that car. Now remember, he told us that Madeline Soto slept all the way to school. So that was a good cover on that story, if that is untrue, that she was asleep because she was slouched in the front seat of his vehicle.
Wow. All right, Gray Hughes, I know you're piecing together every piece of evidence that you can here. You've spoken to some folks connected to Stephan Stearns as well. In this timeline or in the locations, what's your understanding or what are your thoughts or theories about where everyone is? Like from the time of this birthday party to 8:19, where's Madeline supposed to be sleeping? Mom is saying picked her up from home, so where was Stephan? Some of this doesn't make sense to me. Have you been able to piece anything together?
Well, I haven't been able to piece together that part where, I mean, Jen says that he came and picked her up. Like, so that means he was somewhere else to come there, but you'd think he'd be staying at the house. You know, again, I think I mentioned this on another show that at 8 in the morning, Jen says she saw Madeline getting dressed, you know, like getting ready for school. But if Stephan Stearns is throwing the laptop and backpack into the dumpster at 7:35, you would think that she's not alive at this point. I mean, it's possible that he was that premeditated, but it just feels like she's not alive at that point. Now, something else to clarify here is that she does a second interview, Madeline Soto does, and she said, if anything, on Sunday, she celebrated her 13th birthday with my entire family, and she had the best day. So she does say in that one that she has the birthday with the entire family. She was so happy. She showed us all her gifts. She was just a happy girl, and she showed it on Sunday night when she went to bed. She was so happy. She had the best day. And it said also, there was no moment in that evening from when she got home from the party that she had her phone or her laptop. She went straight to, I think it's like straight to get ready to bed. You know, so it shows, she does talk about her coming home in that second interview. So is this all something that was just made up, you know, or you know for certain that her recollection of Madeline being dropped off at school is totally bogus. It was just a story told to her by Stephan Stearns because she says she wasn't even there. So when she explains it, it sounds like, oh, she's right there. But then eventually she says, well, he's the one that dropped her off. So it was obviously a story that he fed her.
So, Shannon, where was this birthday party? And do we know where Madeline, she came home from the party? Do we know how she got home from the party? Do we know the hours of it?
Our understanding is it was at a family member's house, and that's where that party was. Everyone was there. As the story goes, at least, Jen Soto says she was not at that party, that she had to work that night. But we have been told, at least by family members, that Stephan Stearns was at that party, and then she came home. This whole thing about, hey, I picked her up and then took her to school, I'm not sure investigators believe that, because all three of them lived in that apartment together. So picking her up that early for school, if he was seen in the complex at least at 7:35, and then supposedly dropped her off around 8:30. But what's doesn't make sense about that either is that the school didn't start till 9:40 in the morning. So why are you dropping this teenager off at 8:30 in the morning when the school doesn't start till 9:40?
9:40 start at the school at Hunters Creek?
Yes. Yes, it is at after 9 o'clock, and that 8:30 just didn't make any sense to us. It's just way too early. And then he said he dropped her off at school. He dropped her off at the church because she liked to walk. So none of the stories make any sense, not from him. And then when you piece hers in there, it just there's a lot of questions because all factors indicate that they were all in that house at least that morning, because remember, she told investigators that she saw her get ready for school. She told us that she talked to her that night before she went to bed. So it seems as though they were all in that house that night. So there's just so many questions about who didn't see what or who didn't hear what. It's not that big of a place. You saw that apartment complex. It wasn't the house where the birthday party was. That unit they live in is just not that big.
Wow. So here's the problem, right, Gray? Like, if everyone's there in this 1,400 square foot home and she's alive at that point, like, is potentially the house is the scene of the crime here, right? I mean, logic is kind of pointing that way, that the house is the scene of the crime.
Yeah, it's strange that Jen wouldn't have noticed something that night that may have happened. I mean, it could have been really late at night that something happened to Madeline. You know, we don't know if she was intentionally killed or perhaps he drugged her to do something and she died from that. It's interesting how long it's taken them to say what the actual cause of her death is. I'm wondering if when they found her, if there wasn't anything that was immediately obvious on her body that they could just immediately say, yes, she was, strangled or asphyxiated. I mean, it sucks talking about a kid like that, but, we just don't know at this point. So something happened to her, and I think something happened to her before 7:30. So that means Jen's story was either something she voluntarily put out there to have proof of life of her daughter for Stephan, or it was something that, it couldn't have actually happened, right? Because at 7:35, he's putting the items in the dumpster.
I can't imagine any of us who have kids and you're getting ready for school and the backpack and the laptop aren't there, that's all you're going to be talking about. Where's my backpack? Where's my laptop? Where's my backpack? And the fact that the phone is left at home as well. All these are problems. We only have a few seconds here. Any word, Shannon, from the medical examiner about any autopsy results?
It's not being released yet, and I'm not sure it ever will. The law allows for that, and I think that Madeline Soto's family will probably fight the release of that autopsy. So I'll be surprised if we ever see that report.
But we would have to hear the testimony if and when there is a trial after someone is charged. And like we said, he's a suspect. We've been told she's not a suspect. So we'll see how this develops. But great information tonight. Shannon Butler, WFTV investigative reporter. Make sure if you're not in Orlando, you're watching all of her work online. Gray Hughes, podcaster. Gray Hughes investigates on YouTube. Check it out, folks. Thank you both. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some breaking news. The jury in Idaho has reached a verdict in the jealous ex-trooper murder trial in Idaho. The jury deliberated for 8 hours, 19 minutes. There you see the judge, Daniel Howard, accused of killing his wife, Kendi, back in 2021, but he claimed it was suicide. We are going to take you in live now because it seems that the judge is standing. They usually stand as the jury enters, which means this verdict is on its way, folks. Let's listen in.
You may be seated. Members of the jury, I'll ask you to speak through your foreperson. Who is that? All right. Have you in fact reached the verdict?
Yes, we have.
All right. If you would hand the verdict form to my bailiff, please. Mr. Howard, if you would please rise. The clerk will read the jury's verdict.
In the District Court of the First Judicial District of the State of Idaho, in and for the County of Kootenai, State of Idaho versus Daniel C. Howard, we, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn to the above entitled action for our verdict, unanimously answer the questions submitted to us as follows. Count 1, is the defendant Daniel C. Howard guilty or not guilty of domestic battery? Guilty. Count 2, is the defendant Daniel C. Howard guilty or not guilty of murder in the first degree? Not guilty. Is the defendant Daniel Howard guilty or not guilty of second degree murder? Guilty.
And I'll note it's signed by the presiding officer. Members of the jury, is this in fact your verdict, so say you all?
Yes.
All right. Do either of the attorneys wish to have the jury polled?
No.
All right. Members of the jury, I'll tell you what happens next. I'll set this matter for sentencing. Mr. Howard is remanded into custody. Counsel, I'm proposing a sentencing date of May 23rd at 1:30 p.m. That's available. I will order a PSI or a pre-sentence investigation. Mr. Howard, I'll have you talk with your attorney about that. You have the right to participate or not participate in that. You continue to have the right to remain silent. Members of the jury, I'm going to read you a closing instruction. I'm giving you a lot of instructions during this case. You have now completed your duties as jurors in this case and are discharged with the sincere thanks of the court. The question may arise as to whether you may discuss this case with the attorneys or with anyone else. For your guidance, the court instructs you that whether you talk to the attorneys or to anyone else is entirely your own decision. It is proper for you to discuss this case if you wish to, but you are not required to do so, and you may choose not to discuss the case with anyone at all. If you choose to, you may tell them as much or as little as you like, but you should be careful to respect the privacy and feelings of your fellow jurors. Remember that they understood their deliberations to be confidential. Therefore, you should limit your comments to your own perceptions and feelings. If anyone persists in discussing the case over your objection or becomes critical of your service, either before or after any discussion has begun, please report it back to me. And with that, I want to thank you for your patience, for your attentiveness, your conscientiousness and attention to detail throughout this case, and the time that you gave in service to this case. I thank the attorneys again for their professionalism and excellent advocacy. All right, I will excuse the jury at this time, and please stand for the jury.
Big news tonight. Daniel Howard guilty of second-degree murder. The jury has spoken. It was not suicide. This was murder. Now you know why he was at the airport. He knew what was coming. He heard the evidence. A big night. Former state trooper guilty of murdering his wife of 25 years. They were in the midst of a divorce, so the motive there was obvious. Things were not great between the two, but you could see he's getting cuffed. On the other side of the law now, it's not easy in prison for former police officers, and that's where he's going. Former Idaho state trooper, justice delayed but not justice denied. The jury coming back with guilty of second degree, not first degree. It was not guilty of first degree, but guilty of the second degree, along with the domestic battery. Looks like the judge has left the bench. Everyone is gone. So this verdict is in. This verdict is final for now. So again, breaking news, Dan Howard, guilty of murdering his wife, Kendi, his estranged wife. They were getting ready for a divorce after 25 years together. You wonder, why would you do that? Someone you spend 25 years of your life with, a good majority of your life with. And some people, they don't want to split the money. They just want out. They want a new life. I'm tired of you, whatever it is. But it's unforgivable. And today the jury spoke, and they spoke loudly. So what we're going to do right now is, I think we're taking a break. What are we doing? Are we taking a break? I will presume we're taking a break.
Weekend, she just turned 13. She had her 13th birthday party. She was happy that we were all together here, and she was just very happy. She was a happy kid. She's very sweet. She's a very sweet girl.
All right, folks. Now back to our top story of this hour, which is the murder of Madeline Soto right after her 13th birthday. And we've gone through some of the timeline, the evidence of what was going on that day, how some of the statements don't match everything. Let's get a little analysis from our guest joining us tonight in Atlanta, Georgia, former Special Agent in Charge, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Trebor Randall, and in Los Angeles, California, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Great to see you both. Big verdict tonight, and we've got big news here as well in this case. So, Trebor, let me begin with you. This timeline and the videos and everything else. What is the questioning of Mom going to be based upon some of these facts that we're hearing? If she's home at night, right? If she says she's home at night and says goodnight to her daughter, if she says that at 8 o'clock she sees her getting dressed, and then she describes the clothes that she wore to school, yet we've got video of the backpack being dumped at 7:35. We've got video of her dead in the car at 8:19, returning home at 8:19. School starts at 9:40. So what are the questions you have for Mom based upon what she's allegedly been saying?
Well, Vinny, those questions for Mom are going to be tough. As I mentioned before, sometimes with witnesses and family members, things transition. Either they're forgetting certain details. Certainly when you've gone through something traumatic like this, you could be off on your timeline. We always take those things into consideration. But once we present them with more fact-based evidence, then they're going to have to tell us something a little bit different. If she wants to stick to that story and that timeline, then obviously we're going to confront her a little bit differently. And it's not uncommon, unfortunately, in these cases. I see it time and time again where you have a young girl who has been assaulted over the years sexually by mother's paramour. Unfortunately, sometimes the mother has a sense of what's going on. Sometimes they have allowed this abuse to occur, either just turned a blind eye. We don't know what the facts are yet in this case concerning her mother, but certainly that timeline just does not fit. And if she wants to stick to that story, then I would be transitioning in the way that I question Mom at this point in the investigation.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, to me, it comes down to the dynamic between Jen Soto and Stephan Stearns. This relationship. What do you think is happening between these two? Because she's providing information that clearly is not true, and I don't know if she's being, threatened to give this information, if she's feeling coerced, or if it's a cover-up. How can you tell when you interview someone? How do you get to what's motivating these statements that are not true?
Well, yes, you know, the more we find out about the case and it's just little details that are kind of, it's like pulling teeth, you know, little details are coming out here and there. We know all this information about the affidavit and these, you know, horrific sexual pictures, you know, films, video and photographs and all of that. And yet in terms of the actual details of what happened, you know, where she was, and all of that, we don't know. But anyhow, I think that it might have been something where at the party, and there's talk online that the party was at the grandmother's house. I don't know, obviously, if that's true, but anyhow, and so we don't know if when the mother was saying she talked about the party, she had a great time, she went to bed, whether she was talking about her going to bed at home. We assumed that it was at their home, the three of them, but it could well have been on the phone and at the grandmother's house. But you know, another thought is perhaps at the party, the boyfriend got jealous over something. Perhaps she was talking to some men, or I don't know. It seems like a very straight. The party was attended.
Right. Something else could have been happening here. Unfortunately, because of the breaking news that we had tonight, Dr. Carol Lieberman and Tabor Randall, we're short on time, but we'll bring you back because obviously there's a lot more to talk about.